Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Loosely Coupled by Bridging the Gap. My name is Karol Skrzmowski, and I'll be your host tonight. And I hope everybody has something nice to drink. I have my trusty set of coffee to help me go through the evening. And today we're changing the format a little bit, so we're not going to have the usual conversation, but we're doing collaborative modeling again. And as we did that in November with Annegret Juncker, we're continuing, only not spreading with the tools so far as we did last time. We're now focusing today only on domain storytelling as a method to capture requirements, capture the business logic, what the process is, etc., etc. And to walk us through this, we have, of course, Annegret Juncker, joined by Fabrizio, and I'm going to butcher the name again. I'm always having the problem with that. Lazzaretti. I hope I didn't. Yeah, okay, that seems correct. And then, as our SME on the topic of modeling, what we're gonna be modeling today is Woody Zool, and we're going to be modeling an unconference, which is going to be quite an interesting challenge, I suppose. So, without further ado, everybody, welcome to the stream. Hello, hello, good evening. And Woody, I believe that's a good afternoon for you? Or is it still morning?
Well, it's very morning still.
Oh, very morning. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's 11 a.m.
Oh, 11. Yeah, that's always a lovely time difference. But glad you could join us at this lovely morning hour. So, a few words about why we're here, who we are, and what the hell is going on. Starting by perhaps with Annegret. Hello, Annegret. Are you there?
Hello, that's me. Yeah. Should I introduce me? Sorry, I
Yes, please do. Please do.
yeah. I'm Annegret. Thank you again for the invitation. I'm a software architect at CodeCentric. CodeCentric is a middle-sized consultancy firm company in Germany. I'm there as an architect and taking care of domain-driven design, especially in the collaborative modeling section.
All right. And today, for a change, you brought with you your co-author of the book, Fabrizio Lazzaretti.
Yeah, I'm totally fine. Lazzaretti is fine as you pronounce it. But thanks for that.
I always forget to ask. I always forget to ask for the proper pronunciation. So my apologies. My ADHD goes crazy at times. I usually try to do it, but today went sideways. So
worked out great. Fabrizio. Then we had a joke for a start, right? I'm a managing consultant at Wavestone. Also a consulting company with European DNA, a little bit bigger, and mainly focusing on strategic consulting. And my area is I'm an architect focusing on cloud infrastructure. There I'm also a CNCF ambassador, and otherwise doing mainly integration architecture and a heavy focus in event-driven architecture. And I just brought the water with me. No coffee, unfortunately.
I'm not shy on water.
Right?
Same for me here.
Woody, a few words, please.
Sure. Well, I'm Woody Zool, and I think of myself as a software developer, but for the last over 10 years, I've basically been spreading the idea of collaborative work, which we used to call mob programming. I call it software teaming now. It's the same thing. Some people call it ensemble. But I've been doing these things for a long time, and I just discovered a couple days ago I did my first programming in 1968. So I've been doing it for quite a while. But I've been making my living as a programmer starting somewhere like 1999. And my main expertise, I think, is really in the teamwork aspects, but I love programming and creating software. Yeah.
Woody, given that you will be in the role of a subject matter expert on unconferences, what's your connection to the format of unconference?
Well, I was first introduced to the idea, I believe, in 2007, and the facilitator of the session that I was at, which was at a large gathering, an agile gathering of sorts, and was Dinah Larson. And she was just unbelievably good at facilitating or holding the space of an unconference. And I don't think I'd known of these before, but I was so intrigued with it. Within 2 years, I was deeply involved in helping create and provide some open space. It would have been co-located, right, not remote. And basically from 2009 until 2015 or so, I was deeply involved in helping produce such an event every once a year. And then that turned into twice a year with 2 different locations. And I've done a number of these, attended dozens and dozens, but helped produce in some form probably a dozen or more. Plus, I have facilitated some, but small, non-public. Usually, the ones I've attended have been public, but smaller, internal company style, open space unconference events.
So to also give a little bit of a background, because the unconference topic was proposed by Annegret, and I was like, oh, I just attended my first unconference recently. Perfect, let's do this. And then I already knew that Woody is a fan of the format and did a few and attended quite a few. So I was like, oh, that seems like perfectly in time. Just amazing. And then in the meantime, I was like pondering after attending the Unconference Software Crafters US based in February, maybe we should actually do that kind of unconference for API and application integration topics. And quite maybe the result of today's session will be a continuation in actually having that kind of unconference. I'm curious to hear from the audience if there's anybody doing application integration, APIs, etc., interoperability topics. Would you be interested in attending such an unconference? That would be quite amazing, because I believe we don't really have that many unconferences or conferences or unconferences are on interoperability topics in general. So I would say, why not? And in the meantime, chat is booming. We already have some people joining. Hello, James. The usual Stefan is joining from Czechia. My co-author Philip, under his new name, Explore Domains. Hello, Philip. So it's we're gonna have probably a very good session. So, Annegret, since you'll be leading the charge here, what now? Tell us.
Okay, also what we want to, also in real unconference, as Woody already pointed out, is something which is co-located and in person, because a lot of the fascination of an unconf is really because the people come together and can talk to each other. Anyhow, today we thought we don't have too much time, and we all hate traveling. Therefore, we want to do an unconference in a remote version, and we want to figure out, is that possible today, and what are the business requirements. And we use for it a method introduced by Stefan Hofer and Henning Schwendner, which is called domain storytelling. And in the end, and here's even the book. I think you have it already even as a link.
There we go.
And here you see a business expert, as in our case today, Woody, will tell us a story, and the story is really meant literally. That means it has a beginning and has an end, it has a culmination in the middle, and the moderator, in that case it's me, draws the story. And here, what you can see here is already a domain story, yeah, and it is really a drawing, yeah.
You're probably referring to the screen share that was not on screen yet.
Okay, sorry. You need to, yeah, it should be on screen, yeah.
Now it is, yes.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And then we have the audience. So you all, you can ask questions to the story when you don't understand anything, etc. And usually when you have a really workshop taking one day or half a day, a second or third business expert repeats his point of view of the same subject, and then you get a really comprehensive overview about the business requirements. And you see, we here always draw some sentences with an actor, an action, and an object. But you will see how it will evolve over the evening.
So the idea is to capture a story about a specific domain, the main problem, in a pictogram, flow-like diagram to make it a little bit more tangible.
Exactly. Also it's comparable to the activity diagram in UML a little bit, yeah. But it's much more expressive, especially for business people.
Fair enough.
Also less formalized, right? But I would also add,
yeah, exactly.
So nobody will be able to say you made the wrong annotation. We need to correct it.
Yeah, exactly.
To be honest, I'm yet to see a person who can properly use UML without making errors in notation. So good that we don't have that pressure.
I do. I'm able to. Yeah, I draw. I drawn a lot of UML diagrams in my life. I think I do errors in BPNN, but not in UML. I would say. But it doesn't matter.
Fair enough. I still remember my university times. I was studying electrical engineering, and within the classes, we had a class on UML and modeling. And I remember going with my UML project to my professor, and he just whipped out a book, which was twice the size of this one. And this is quite a thick one because that's 500 pages something, 660. And the book was the UML Bible was like twice the size, and he was like, "Okay, what's your problem again?" And then flipped the book open at random, and then here it is.
So, I really started with the first Spooch diagram. Probably Woody knows them already. Where the classes were not boxes, where the classes were clouds. Long before 30 years before cloud technology. But yeah, it's fine. Okay, but that was not what we were talking about. Also,
yes.
Here we have the story, and to such a story, as you can see here, belongs certain terms. Like we have here the story and the questions, and those terms can be gathered by a so-called visual glossary, and that you can see here. And a task is assigned to a clerk, a task has a status, and you can read it. Yeah, I don't need to explain so much. It's more a static representation of the requirements we have in the process of the domain storytelling. And you see here that we have here even, I think you can see it here, the ode to stars, that we have even here cardinalities we can imagine, which is nice when we have later more detailed things and we want to have a really domain model which can be put in code or which we can put into an API. And I have here even the books, on our Miro board, because in the books I think it's quite nice, explains the visual glossary. Otherwise, we have only a book available from Stefan Zörner, which only is available in German. And so far, I put our own books in here as a links.
So I'll do some shameless advertisement for you. So actually, Annegret just 2 weeks ago, got the her new book, DDD Toolbox.
Yeah, here it is. Yeah.
You just showed us before the stream. You just showed us a physical copy of the book, so that's a brand new guide on toolbox overview on concepts and collaborative modeling.
There are a lot of the patterns and the principles you see around DDD, and even the canvas and the collaborative methods are explained in 1 or 2 pages, and therefore it's not so thick. It's only 150 pages, so that you can use it as a reference. That was the idea behind.
Did you just see Woody scanning the QR code?
Yep. I love that.
Okay, perfect. So if you will, the QR code will be there in the recording. If you didn't catch it, you can always rewind that on YouTube later and then just grab it and or just Google or do Amazon search and DDD Toolbox.
Yeah.
Just remember to add the outer name, so Annegret Juncker, because if you just write DDD Toolbox, you'll get a bunch of toolboxes.
Yeah, exactly. That is nice. When you search, you get toolboxes. That's really nice. I like
already did that mistake. So yeah. So before we jump into the actual modeling, there's a really valid question from Stefan. What is the definition of done? Where are we done with modeling? When
Never.
is never? Okay, that's
it's when you are the problem I have when I get a certain model, and the model is a model, yeah, and then I program, and I get with the programming, or I even speak to certain stakeholders, I get new ideas, and those ideas need to incorporate it into the model. And so far the model is a representation of the software we want to develop, and hopefully the software evolves over time, and we don't get bankrupt with our company, and then of course a model has to evolve again, and then we have new function, and those new functions will be modeled, and so far the model is never finished. But what I do is a certain workshop or session with the business experts, and then we are ready with the session, and then we have a certain outcome of the session, and that model indeed, and so far the question is really nice. That model be created to a certain point that we have to freeze somehow, but we can afterwards, after freezing, we can then go further and evolve the model in the same manner as we evolve the software.
And here
you start a really good point. I would maybe really just shortly go into the whole process, right? Because now we really already dive deep into domain storytelling, but it's like something that we want to do for a bigger goal. Annegret, you just went shortly over it, right? The goal that we want is to design a software, and then maybe just really shortly, right, go a little bit out of our main topic today to say also, hey, why are we doing that, right?
Sorry, Fabrizio, I've opened the pictures from our book. And we should have the process here somewhere. I think
so
here
I already copy pasted it, but I think I don't have the access right to bring you to me on the board. But on our board on the bottom, I already added a synergetic blueprint. And I just want shortly to go over that, right?
Yeah, so yes, that would be great, yeah, because I think it's important, because there are several modeling questions, several collaborative things which come to an orderly software.
So where I would start always is first the business plan, right? To get with the business people together, or a team, maybe also a whole company, to see what do we want to do. Normally it's a team, right? Here, Woody, we would go and first say, okay, what's our business plan? Why we want to do that? And that can be done, for example, with a business plan canvas. Here it doesn't need to be a commercial goal, but probably just to connect people or something like that. And that's just important, right? To know afterwards, where do we drive the focus and where do we want to go? And there already we a little bit see also the where we want to go, and they're also the focus of the story, that we not, as Annegret said, never end with this the model, because we can always expand, right? Then afterwards, a Wardley map helps us to do the capabilities. And with that, then we can really say, okay, this is something that we need in our application or our product, that it really helps and it will differentiate from us. And also other things that we can say, well, for example, on conference, we probably don't need an own calendar app. We can just buy something to add that everybody will be on time there. And then afterwards, we can then go into the business requirements, right? And that we gather normally with a domain storytelling that we will do today. There really go into, hey, how do we get that one by one? And afterwards, we also have the visual glossary that we will do today in parallel, to have a ubiquitous language that we know that all are talking from the same thing. And when we have this, then we can do an event storming and really see, hey, which business event evolves in the whole story. And with that, we can then make bounded contexts. And with bounded context, we know how we either just separate into modules our software and maybe also can decouple teams, or really with classical microservice architecture, what is a microservice, where we can really assign one team to a microservice. And if we go for that with microservices that can be, as the stream says, loosely coupled, then we can in between do API design afterwards, right? And probably for normally what we do, right, and also in the book Discourage, is going for that APIs in between and really ending when we know, hey, this is the cut, so that we know each component is a black box and we know where to separate, and then to afterwards doing smaller groups or independent teams really go into the design of the software component.
Just going back step back a little on the purpose of modeling and never ending the modeling is there are certain aspects to that. As an architect, I see that architecture is iterative, and we need to do it iterative because the business is changing. Now, a different way of describing this is like Philip pointed out in the comment, and this is basically the words that Barry O'Reilly uses. The model starts to drift. We experience model drift all the time. So then we need to model again to capture that drift. And basically, the model of the business drifts away faster than we can capture it and implement it. So it's a constant battle against time and drift to capture everything and remain on top of it.
Yeah, but I mean that's a point, no? As we don't need to model everything. As I mean, in the end, our truth is in the software. And but we need, and I'm completely with you on that point, that the business model is evolving, and the software has to evolve in the same manner as the business model is evolving over time. And we have that drift, but it's not in my point of view, it's not in failure or an error in the models. It's more in failure or an error when it really shows large gaps. It's a problem inside of the development process, but that we shouldn't be discussed this evening, because then we are here even tomorrow morning.
Fair enough. And just on the last comment on the modeling side of things, if we take the quote from George Box, attributed to him all the time, all models are wrong, but some are useful.
Exactly.
And that's why we model. We don't have to model everything, because we need to only model what we're going to use, and we need to only make a simplification of reality that is useful to us rather than correct.
As I mean, every model is some kind of useful. No? As I can use a floor plane to imagine how my living room will look like. Yeah. or I can use an Schrödinger equation to describe how an electron is floating through a silicon crystal. Yeah? I can do it, but I don't need to. Yeah? I learned it, by the way, at university and so far.
Yeah, right level of abstraction, right? And I think that's also just a little bit the gut feeling. And I think one question was who draws these domain stories. Normally, it's a moderator that has the knowledge and did that before, right? And I think these person then are also these that know also they need to have an architecture head on, or maybe you split them into two roles, and they need then to drill down into that model, right? As Annegret said, where it's important for that use case, and say, okay, fine, we probably don't need to go deeper there, just to keep again the focus. And as Annegret said as well, not be the next morning still drawing this diagram.
All right, shall we?
Exactly. Let us start. So, Woody, you need to tell me, I don't know anything about unconferences, so you need to tell me what should I draw here? What is the start point?
Well, so an unconference is a gathering. So that's often used, the terminology would be gathering of people who are interested in discussing with each other or learning about a specific topic. So usually an open space unconference or whatever will have a main overarching topic. Like the ones that I was involved in helping put on, I was invited to help put on a conference that was called Agile Open SoCal. So that's the.
That's what we mean. As I said, we need a flow of things. Yeah, we need a story.
Yeah. Well, so we'll get to that. Yeah. So the idea, just the overarching idea, is that this is a gathering of people. So yeah. So maybe we would have an organizer or a group of organizers. So
and they give the conference some kind of meaning, right?
Yeah, so we usually have, so the organizer, maybe has a topic that they want to be covering. So that would be the purpose is good. Yeah, I think it's often around a topic.
So, and I can see that the organizer or organizer is the right word, yeah.
Sure.
Defines the topic. Right? That would be the first.
So the people who come are going to gather around that topic.
So and then we have
so the
person, an interested person, right?
Yeah, you might think of them as participants or attendees. I don't know if there's an official name for that, but we can call them participant.
So the participant is then interested in the topic, right?
That's right.
So what is then the next step?
Well, I want to make one thing clear. There are not, we don't bring speakers in. The people who come will become the speakers. So we don't necessarily have people who are brought in to be, we don't create the agenda beforehand. We create, these people together will create the agenda. So whoever shows up, it's one of the guidelines of an open space, is whoever shows up is the right people. They're the ones who are interested about this topic, and they're going to, that's what they'll be sharing.
So the only agenda in that sense is the time slots.
So the agenda itself will be created by the attendees. So this is in a thing we call the marketplace.
Also, that means that's first that in a participant I think proposes. What can I use here?
So you could just say that's right. They propose a session topic or a session. Each session will have its own title.
Yeah, proposes a session.
And right now on the grid, maybe.
But one moment, a session on the marketplace. I come to you. I only want to finish the sentence. So, and then we have a marketplace. I come to you.
Great, thanks. Because I'm already building a visual glossary, and Woody, now you 3 times switch between participant and attendee, and one word just
Yeah, so we can use either term, so you choose the one you want. I don't know if there's an official word.
Also, I used in the story participants that we should stick to participant.
So normally, right, you're the subject matter expert. You are alone. You're not a group, so you can really here decide. And we try to be there now precise, always using that word, right? That's one thing that we really get ubiquitous language at the end. That at the end, also in code, hopefully we just then find participant, and if attendees are somewhere used, that should be then another meaning, right? That's just one thing that we really try here to focus, just also for the listeners. So now participant, if you say that's fine, then we go with that for that.
Yeah, we'll use participant for now.
I was just about to comment that if the suddenly in the story the name shifts, that means that the semantic meaning of the whatever we're describing also probably changed, and it's worth investigating further. Why the change of name? So if we're doing this,
I originally used them interchangeably,
and that's fine. But
that's right.
If we would be doing this in a regular business setting, that usually probably constitutes a change in domain or something like this.
It could.
Or a business unit or something like that.
It certainly could.
Yeah.
But you can call me Woody, or you can call me Hey You, and both of those are going to work just as well.
Okay. As sometimes you can use those extra stickies, as it was here done by Fabrizio. And what you can see here is that we have that the participant become speakers, and the participants gather at the unconference. So I would need here 1 to N, hopefully. Otherwise, a conference only with one would make no sense. Yeah. And the unconference has organizers here, probably 1 to N as well. Yeah. And we said that they want to cover one topic. Yeah, so that we even have here the cardinalities, and a participant can propose 1 to 5, for example, sessions. Yeah, so that we said, okay, you are not allowed to propose more than 5 sessions. Yeah, and that you can discuss then with the business people, Woody. 1 to 5, or do we want that every participant can propose several sessions?
Yeah, that will be up to. So there's going to be a facilitator of the open space, and that's the person who makes it clear what an open space is and the ideas of open space, and then because there's some guidelines and there's a law that they talk about, and then so that person is what we would say is holding the space. So the facilitator holds the space, which means they provide the structure to the day, although it's always very much the same.
One moment, we need to go back from the domain model back to our story. So we said we propose a session on the marketplace. Yeah. And the marketplace, that is what I miss here a little bit. So sorry, I need to put it here a little bit back. And the marketplace has then 1 to N sessions, right?
Yeah, this is the place where the sessions will be posted. It's basically the marketplace has columns and rows. Usually the columns are the rooms that we'll be using, and the rows are the time slots, because a session needs to have a specific, if we're using a marketplace, it'll have a specific place that it will be held and a specific time it will be held. And this is the creation of the agenda. The marketplace itself contains that agenda.
Also the marketplace in the end is the agenda. Also it's only used as marketplace because I have to negotiate between different sessions, the time slots.
That's
And
right.
so, also I have jetzt here the rooms and the marketplace builds the agenda. So.
Agenda we already have.
Where it is? Also, it's
Here,
there.
agenda.
So the agenda is created by the participants. So there's that connection is correct. So the agenda is not predefined. The overarching topic, what are we here to talk about? What's the domain space of what we're talking about is proposed before the session, but once or before the open space. But once we get there, we create as a group, individuals talking with each other create this marketplace, which is the
So
agenda.
also the participants build, also we have here a 1 to n, build the agenda, and the agenda is shown by the marketplace, right?
Yeah, I think that'd be a good way to describe it.
Okay, nice.
And before you said also a facilitator hosts a space. A space is one area in the agenda, right? Or what's the word?
No, the space, the problem is the space is more or less, so as far as I understood it, would you correct me, the regulatories we have in our unconf.
So we'll have a facility where we're doing this. If we're not remote, if I'm understanding you correctly, it will be like at a place where you can have a large meeting room, because usually there's an opening circle where everybody sits in chairs when we're doing this physically in a circle, so everybody can see everybody else. And this is kind of puts us on an even level. And usually it's not necessarily has to be limited, but when you get more than 100 or 150 people, it's almost too many to just have everyone able to see each other. But this opening circle is where we all sit in a physical circle so we can kind of see each other. And that's the opening, or that's the main conference space. But then there will be many individual rooms, and we've already kind of indicated that, where the specific sessions will be held. And sometimes they're all held in the same room, just different areas.
Okay. No, you were right here on the space.
I think we go too deep in. Sorry for interrupting here. I think we go too deep into things. Yeah, we need to go further with our story, Fabrizio.
Totally. Now I'm fine. Just before I was
so
that word.
What we have here is that we have here. Unfortunately, I can't write anymore. Anything? I'm still on the thing. Huh? Also we have here the participant, and the proposes a session on the marketplace, and then the whole group, also all participants together agree on the agenda, right?
So that is the creation of the agenda. So whatever somebody, we honor the intent of each person. If I say, let's say that we're doing a session about APIs, I want to talk about doing APIs in a collaborative manner, or designing APIs, whatever, in a collaborative manner. That's what I'm proposing. If I go and I propose that there's a space on the marketplace for me to put it, that's now part of the agenda. That's part of the marketplace that people can decide to go to that. So we can have as many sessions as we have rooms to put stuff. And in reality, we can also expand it out and say, well, we'll just meet out in the hall, or we'll meet outdoors. So there's part of the story. The story overall is we're going to gather under a topic at a specific place and time, and we're going to create the agenda when we get there with the help of a facilitator who holds the space. And that's the person who kind of is in charge of making sure everyone understands what an open space is, but also gives us the freedom to come up with our own topics. They're not dictating anything. They're just helping us do the thing we've come to do.
So when we have the agenda, then the participant can visit the session, right?
Yes, so the participants can propose sessions and they can attend sessions.
Attend, sorry for.
I'm getting a bit of a fuzzy sound here. Is this because of me or because of you folks?
I think that is Fabrizio following with the visual glossary.
I can hear more clearly now. I don't know what went wrong.
So as the participant can attend the session, and then when the how is now the closing? Also now we are through, no? We can repeat here that a lot of times. Also we have that we meet. Also when several participants can propose sessions, therefore I have here a repeat session, and I can visit the session, right?
Certainly.
So okay.
So there is the idea at the end of an open space gathering, there is a closing, and we can talk about that as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And at the end of each day, there's often it wouldn't be considered a closing if it's a multi-day event. There will be some kind of and they call the evening news or something like that, where people share what they learned or what was interesting, what was the most interesting things and stuff like that. So there are a few other activities that will happen. The main one's the opening, then the creation of the marketplace, and then the sessions themselves.
And what is that called? The ending? How is it called?
I believe it's called a closing.
A closing.
Yeah,
so
that's not of individual sessions. That's of the overall open space.
Also the participants meet and at the closing in the end, yeah.
That's right, and that's again, it's usually done at almost all the ones I've attended. It's done in a circle, in the same space. Yeah.
Woody, I put here for the closing a duck. And that is something I do in every domain storytelling I moderate, that I have some kind of duck in my domain stories. So there's a rule in my domain storytelling. There must be one duck in the domain story.
Excellent. What, one duck and only one duck?
No, there can be several ducks, but
okay,
at least
good. So we can that's a definitely a one to many then. Okay. As many ducks as necessary.
Woody, a question, domain wise, what is the role of a facilitator in opening and closing?
So the facilitator gathers the group together. So when it's ready to start, they'll make it clear, using a bell or a sound of some kind to call people together. And once the people are there, so in the opening, their role is to make sure everyone understands what open space is, because usually there will be some people who've never done one before, and they're still puzzled about things. This is the sort of thing that if you just do it, you will know what it is and how to do it, but you got to go experience it. It's hard to understand ahead of time. Yeah, go ahead.
Therefore, I need here some kind of an in-between step, because before the proposing, that we have the facilitator explaining the rules, right?
Yeah, there are principles. There's 4 or 5. I don't count them, but I can explain what they are if that's interesting for us to have. But the basic idea is, like whoever is here is the right people. That whatever happens is the only thing that could happen. There's a couple others than that. The basic idea is that there's some guidelines about how we pay attention to what's going on. But people
Guidelines.
say,
Guidelines, I think, is a better one.
yeah, guidelines. These are they call them principles.
Principles.
Principles. So the principles, whoever comes are the right people. Whatever happens is the only thing that could have happened. We don't regret, that a particular person didn't show up or that something didn't happen the way we wanted it to. Another one is whenever it starts is the right time. And when it's over, it's over. And what this really means is if your conversation isn't really concluding at the time limit, you can still continue the conversation outside of the gathering space. There is a new one I believe I've seen come forward, which is wherever it happens is the right place or something like that, because these can be spontaneous. There is also a law that they used to call the law of 2 feet. I think they call it the law of movement or something like that. But if you want me to go into details, I can in any of these. But it basically means you're responsible for deciding where you are at any particular moment. If you're in a session and you're going, this isn't for me, you can move to another session. And nobody should take offense at the idea that somebody won't decide to leave this particular session.
So now I want to explain a little bit about the domain story. I hope you are fine with my domain story here.
So far, so good.
I totally agree. Just there's one question in the chat. What about the planning? And I would go now exactly. I would probably cut the planning out, right, and just go to the execution. That we not again do the monstrosity of the biggest.
What was the question about planning exactly?
What about the planning of the unconf? Venue, date, catering?
Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of things that the organizers will be involved in making sure there's food available, that they have food that will suit most dietary needs. That will almost always be in every time we sign up for one of these. You put down what are you allergic to, what will kill you, that kind of stuff. And so they have to organize the space. They have to make sure that the facilities have the sorts of things we need, like flip charts and pens and sticky notes. Sticky notes are like really important if you're physically at a place, or 3x5 cards or whatever you might use if you have magnetic boards. And so, there's other planning to do, such as having a way to sign up for it, having a place to register, and so on.
Rudy, so sorry. Also it was sort of is when we discuss what we want to model, that we put the planning out, because there is a lot of things which an organizer must do, and that would be probably then a too long model session, because what we want to show here is the principle of domain storytelling, and not really to model in the whole unconf. But
absolutely.
And also we agreed that we're modeling an online version, so that already simplifies a lot in terms of all the organization stuff. So
there's a lot you don't need to worry about when you're online.
But on the other hand, I forgot here something. Really, because we really need the rooms, even in an online session. Also, we need that people can go to the rooms, and it's not so easy, because as Woody already explained, that at every time I need to be able to leave the room, visit another room, when I'm not interested in the topic anymore, or etc. Also, because it goes and that the people really can chat each other and meet each other, and not so far that it's strictly organized.
And I think that's a good point. We not just a room. I thought now, if you're in a virtual thing, mainly at something like Zoom or so, we need some collaboration tool?
Yes, so we do have the ideas of having a whiteboard. Almost every room will have a whiteboard or a flip chart when you're physical, and when we're doing this online, we might be using, for example, the tool that Mike Clement used is Gather. I think it's GatherTown, and in there you can
Yeah.
use outside of that. You can be using something like Miro, a Miro board, or a mural board, or a lucid chart, or whatever, or online documents, whatever works. That gives you a space, and those are big enough, like we're using right now, where you can have a separate space for each session. They're easy to start up. Everybody's using the same board to share what they're doing. So that's a good thing. And of course, these are just drag and drop stickies. You don't need any Sharpies. You don't need any sticky notes. So that's a good point.
GatherTown is a really great tool. I used it in COVID time. That was really nice.
Yes.
Honestly, I didn't use it now for some time. Is it getting still improved?
Oh yeah, I think so, and it works pretty well. And I've been to at least 5 or 6 open space events that use GatherTown. You can set up spaces, and when you move into each space, you will only hear and see what people are in that space. So it keeps you kind of separated. If you leave the space, you can go meet with people anywhere within GatherTown that you're nearby. You'll see them, can talk with them. So there's lots of tools, I'm sure, similar to that, but that's one that I've seen used more than several times.
Like in the regular conference, in the so-called hallway track, the proximity of a conversation has a limit. So if you move closer to a virtual representation of somebody, you'll hear them and you can talk with them, and you'll not be heard all over the place.
That's right.
Only at a specific area that you're in that proximity.
I'm back to the visual glossary. Also we have here the facilitator. I know it that we have 1 to 4 facilitators for such a conference. Also depends obviously on the size. But as I put here moderates, you said facilitates. I put here moderate.
That's on me.
What would be for you the better word?
For the facilitator, what they would do?
For the opening and closing.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure. I've just always saw them as a facilitator. I'm not sure there's a term I know of that I would use, but they support the process. So they make it clear what we're doing. They gather the people. They make it clear what we're doing, and they show. They usually will get somebody to model the behavior of making a session. You take a piece of paper online. You do a sticky note. So this would be, I don't know a better word. Moderate is fine, but they're
no. I like support. I wrote now support on the mail. Okay, great.
So a very important aspect of this is safety, like in the idea of psychological safety. So we try to be inclusive, and I think that part of the job of the moderator is to make sure, or the facilitator is to make sure that we understand that, and a big part of their job is to intervene when somebody comes to them with some kind of a problem that breaks the agreement of this space. And there's usually a published agreement that says something about how we'll talk and how we'll act, and it can be, these things are very fluid. But that's something I hear or have seen.
Yeah.
But we often say the facilitator is holding the space. That's a terminology I often hear. They're holding the space.
Just as you now went into that guardrail, do we need like that exception case so that the facilitator can kick somebody out of the conference?
Yeah, that I'm not sure how frequently that might happen, but maybe in all the years I've been involved in these things, I have seen, someone that needed to be not there. So I don't know much about how you would actually deal with that. In large commercial conferences, there's usually a process for that. In something like this, it may be very individual in how somebody handles that.
As I think we come here to a quite important point, model-wise. I want to point out now we have something discussed which is not so easy to put into the visual glossary nor into the domain story. And therefore, what you can do is that you always have those sticky notes around. Also here, conf is a safe space. Knowledge-wise, done by a published agreement. And then here we have that red sticky note, facilitator can kick out unfriendly people. I could put it into the story, but the story would become then not so understandable anymore. And therefore that red sticky note, and that is a quite important point to be made. It's more important that the story is understood from the workshop participants then the story is following a strict syntax. Anyhow, what you see here is a syntax that I always have here the actor with the action and the verb item. And when the actor is changing, then I have here a new icon. When the actor wouldn't change, then I wouldn't have a new icon. Unfortunately, here our story is so that we have always new actors. And then you would see here the work item. And the work item is a good practice that the work item is always copied, even so it might be then the same work item. And here you see even that I have some kinds of partition proposed a session on the marketplace, and that you can see here that I have here even some kind of enhancement of the work items in case of time or in case of place, so that we can even enhance here. Also here, for example, we attend the session in the room and use whiteboards. And so we have a really expressive language which even can understood by someone who didn't attend the workshop.
So we also, part of what we do is sometimes do a screen share if we're doing this remotely so that we can show some slides. And when we're doing it co-located, we would have a projector or a monitor we hook up to, especially if we're doing physical, coding or things like that. So that's another tool that we would have. I do want to interject while you're typing that in that this is a relatively inexpensive kind of event to put on, particularly remote, because you don't have paid speakers. The people who come create what's going to be shared. And I would say when you propose a session, that doesn't mean you're an expert on the session. That mean you want to find an expert or a group of people who will act as experts who can help you learn about something. So the proposing of a session doesn't mean you're going to tell other people things. You might be facilitating a discussion within that session, or you might be asking others to join you and help answer some questions you have, things like that. So it's much more free form than typical conference talks where it's, a talking head expert on stage.
And that drives different behaviors. The conference we attended in Gathertown with Mike Clement recently, we literally had students from a university that were just about to enter the job market, and they held a space for a session about asking seniors what they should learn or what they should focus on to perform better on the job market, to be more successful on the job market, which was a wonderful learning experience for them. And it was absolutely an amazing session.
So, and then we have here, how about our visual glossary looks nice as well? Yeah.
Mhm.
Also, let me put, also we have the unconference. The unconference is a gathering, has and principles. Participants gather at the unconference from 1 to n. A participant can propose 1 to n session, and that here is a quite nice business restrictions that I can't say. I don't want so loud noises in my unconference. I want not that one is proposing 10 sessions. I want to limit it. So, and that numbers can then discuss. Also when you have yet now an working session with your business people, you really can ask, do we need 1,000 pages inside of the book? Then they said, no, we can limit it, a book to, I don't know, to 400 pages or something like that. Yeah. Also you always can ask those. And participants can attend end sessions. That is nice here. A participant can become an speaker. So we have here, he doesn't need to, no, or she doesn't need to, but
Right.
can.
That's
So
right.
then the participant builds the agenda using the marketplace, where the marketplace shows the agenda, and then.
Annegret, I would interject here with just to double back to the participant. The participant can become a speaker, but the participant can also become a moderator of a session. Because if the
Right.
sessions are not something that they present, but they ask questions and they want to learn, then they, rather than speak, they moderate. And that's a different role altogether.
So
Yeah,
I would
also
add,
for me, for such speaker moderator was always the same, because you don't have sessions which are, also at least in my experience, which are really some I'm the speaker and you have to listen. Yeah, but
Right.
I'm yeah. Also, but when I put here speaker slash moderator, when you are fine with it and Woody is
Yeah.
fine with it, then I'm fine.
So I would add there's more nuances to this. So the person who proposes the session may not even moderate it. They're just saying, we're going to gather here and this is what we're going to talk about. But once we get there, there isn't necessarily a need for a moderator. Just like when you get together with your friends for a conversation at a coffee house, you don't have a moderator. You just have people having a conversation. So they're the start of the dialogue, because they're proposing a more finite topic than the topic of the overall conference. So it's some small part of that. And they might just say, hey, can we just get together? Everybody bring your harmonica or your ukulele and we'll play some music for a while. It's like, this is what it can be. It's beyond, it's just saying, here's the space and time. This is what I propose for that time. And it could be a talk, it could be a discussion, it could be exercises, it could be, an experiment of some kind. A lot of the sessions I've done over the years have just been, I'm going to propose a few questions and we're going to gather sticky notes. That's about what it is. And we'll have conversations around that. So it's like there's probably a whole need for a separate glossary of what is this. But we're getting the overall.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah.
I think I found an error in the glossary, though. The participant proposes 1 to 5 sessions. I would say 0 to 5, because not every participant proposes a session.
Yeah, you are completely right.
And to me, if I was actually the person organizing, I would never care how many they propose. If somebody wants to propose 5 topics in 5 different rooms at the exact same time, that may physically not be possible. But otherwise, if they say, if there's not enough rooms, they can say, well, I'm going to take a walk at lunch. I've often done those. And when we take a walk, we can be talking about this. So if you want to talk about this while we walk, and that's what we do. So it's like, I don't care how many somebody does, but they don't need to do any. So that's exactly right. And they might find in the middle of this conference, this unconference, that they've got a topic they want to do and it wasn't proposed during the marketplace. You could dynamically propose one and just stick it up on the board if there's a slot available. So there's nuances to this.
Well, but the session, I think that is right, that the session needs a time slot and a room. Yeah, and when
It
no
needs a
room,
time slot and a location, yeah, but we could call it rooms.
location, location is right. Also my most loved unconference is a Como camp for collaborative modeling camp. It's located in Wien in a really nice former palace. And there's a really large park, and when the weather is nice, we have even the sessions inside of the park. That's
Yes.
amazing.
That's a great thing to have.
Okay,
and then if it's a palace, it may have a dungeon, and that would be useful for some of those people.
It's not a dungeon; it's really a palace. But and we don't have sessions in the palace. We have the sessions in the nearby hotel.
Nice.
But there is a really large park, and we really, when the sun is out and it's warm enough, we have sessions in the park. That's really great.
Excellent. Yeah, this is a really free form thing. It can be extremely malleable. If that's the right word. It's fluid. We can invent it as we go.
Yeah.
This just gives a little bit of a framework within which we can work.
Yeah. So as we have here so I need to better hear that we have the location here and not the room necessarily.
Yeah, probably that's a better way to call it.
Yeah. So, but I think we have our domain story we already have, more or less, right? Do you want to change something, Woody?
Well, this is a very good start. I would say if I revisited this, after taking a considerable break, I might make some changes. But right now, I think we've captured some things, and there's probably a lot. It's like what you were saying earlier, and this is a saying I've been using for years. It's in the doing of the work that we discover the work that we must do. And that exactly. means that we won't, whenever we're thinking up front, it's going to change when we get into it. Whatever we thought we knew is going to change.
Yeah.
I think one more thing we can actually capture in the storytelling, because we treated the participants in open space technology as in a very, very, very basic way, but there are actually defined archetypes of participants.
So we can cover that. We did introduce that, but we didn't capture that.
Yeah, precisely. Because these are completely different behaviors of participants, and the participants shift between those archetypes depending on how invested, how interested they are in the session.
So there are some common named types you can be, like you could, and you can change throughout the day. You don't live your whole day a certain way.
So I can be a bee, and what is a bee doing?
Bee or bumblebee is in constant movement between sessions, and it's
I'm not so fast. I'm not so fast. I'm an old woman.
Stories unfold rather rapidly sometimes.
So as a bumblebee is changing session, or what have you said?
The basic idea is they go from flower to flower, pollinating different flowers. That's the overarching idea of a bumblebee.
So the archetype definition is constant movement between sessions, cross-pollinates ideas, and prevents silos.
Constant move. The constantly moving between.
So the story is sort of like this. If I saw 3 sessions during this time that I see a thread through them, I might go to each one and take ideas from one to the other.
Okay, then we have the bumblebee. Also that means, and that you can even here express express in the domain story that a participant can be. But what you see here, and I want to explain from the modeling point of view, you see here that I put here always a number into the actions, so that you can see here that we have here a certain flow of actions, from 1 to 6 here. And then
So the organizer can be a group of organizers. It doesn't need to be an individual, but it's the organizers.
That is definitely it's a role I use here, and we have roles.
Yeah, that's fine.
So far it's fine. And we have that it can be many. We have many. We have in the visual glossary. So, but what I want to show here is that we have here a flow, and I already put here one sentence into, and not to renumber everything, because that would cost a little bit of time. I put here the 2A, so because the 2A, and then we have the 3. And now we have here that we have the role participants has some kind of subtypes of roles with a bumblebee, and we have the other, and then we have here some kind of arrow which is not inside of the flow, therefore it doesn't get any number. And usually, to make it quite clear, I put it even in gray, so then it's clear it doesn't belong really to the story, but it's some kind of hint for the story, and how the bumblebee and the participant belong to each other. So we have
you don't need to add them here, but there's also the idea of being a butterfly. There's 2 or 3 common ones we'll see, and sometimes
bumblebee,
people will
butterfly, and giraffe. I think
giraffe is one we now have heard lately, that it's taking an overview of things. And another one that we often see is just kind of a recluse.
Can we how is giraffe spelled? Is it like that?
Giraffe, F-F-E. Giraffe.
So it's like in German.
That's good. That's very good.
Only pronounced differently. Also in German we would say Giraffe. That's German.
I don't understand why we have so many different languages, but this is why we do domain modeling, is so that we say this is what we're using in this space. This is our our bounded domain, and these are the words we'll use here. But the world is confused itself.
And the giraffe is.
I would say an easy way to define the giraffe is that they're taking a higher overall view of things. One way to say it is they get a wide view. They step back and look at the whole system of conversations, and they're seeing connections between things, gaps, and so on. So it's a higher view. I guess that's probably the one way to define. Another one we often hear is the butterfly. And the butterfly is not so much, although butterflies also do cross-pollinating. Really, but their thing is that they're not directly involved a lot of times. They're more reflective. They flutter about.
But just really short. Now we're into psychological patterns of how people are behaving, right, in the unconference.
These are usually defined as ways you could. I think the people who facilitate these are using this to kind of help you understand. You can fit in whatever way that works for you.
I'm just now, because we're just if we go back, if that the goal is a software, I would maybe also here stop that these types exist, because I maybe think it's not relevant.
On the contrary, it very much is. If you look at how it's organized in GatherTown, that means that when you're, let's say, a butterfly, you basically float around the whole space, which means you pop into a specific room, you pop out, you have a hallway conversation. So this very much relates to how that software behaves and how you configure the space in that software. Because if you would configure the room wrong, then that conversation of a butterfly that's in the hallway would affect the session. So this behavior is actually that is reflected in the online software for
how does the software
on conference.
operate? Yeah, that's right. So if you can't go from room to room,
I think you both are right. Huh? Fabrizio said, okay, people need to, we don't need to go deeper in the psychology, how participants want to behave. Yeah? And you said, I need to make it possible that they can behave like a bumblebee and giraffe and butterfly. And both things are more or less correct. In our situation, I would say we need to model it because here we see that we have three different types of I said sub role or sub something from a participant, because what I need to make inside of the software that a participant can behave like a bumblebee and can behave like a giraffe. So when
Yes.
I put into a session and I can't leave the room until the session ends, then I can't be in bumblebee, yeah, or I can't be a giraffe. When I pressed inside of the room to answer the sessions proper, to answer question inside of the session, or to definitely to access with writing brains a whiteboard or something like that, then I can't be a butterfly. Also insofern, I think in that sentence is necessary to know, but here is some kind of an some kind of an border where an experienced moderator need to cut it. But when you cut things out and I think don't let us model it for today, then I would put all these and red sticky note to it, we need to discuss blah blah blah, yeah, so that everything what is said in the room and in the workshop is really on the whiteboard or is on the sticky note when you do it physically, so that everything was said is documented, but you don't need to model everything into your domain story.
That's good.
And not everything at once, basically.
Yeah, you can do it later, yeah, or you probably don't need it because it's so obvious that you don't need to model as a domain story.
There is another kind of a role that we see. If you've proposed a topic, you're sometimes considered maybe the host of that space when you've proposed a topic, but there could be another person involved who you would ask when you get into the room, hey, while I'm doing this, I'm not going to be able to take notes. Could somebody take the role of a note taker and they capture what's going on so that it can be later in the day given as the news, they call it news of the day or something like that. But also in an online version, you would have a space where they could write the notes, but anybody can contribute notes. One of the things that when we're physical, I often will just have somebody take pictures of the Post-it notes as they get put up, and as the drawings, as they, maybe if we're doing diagrams on a board, as they get created. The interesting thing about a lot of these things is they change as you go, very similar to what you're doing here. So if we capture a diagram that's being created during a session, we might want to capture it in a timely manner over and over again, so we can capture the changes that got made. So this is what the note taker would do, is keep track of what's going on and capture it.
Now you put me in a quite difficult position, because I want to put it here into my board. Also, I have here the note taker.
Sure.
So I don't have so much place anymore.
Well, this is the thing about creating software. It never goes exactly as
like
neatly
thing, yeah.
as we would like it to. There's always going to be a little mess.
And now I even need to change my numbering. I have here the 5A, B, C.
So we need software that lets you do that automatically.
So then I need here the 5-1, so that the note taker takes note.
Are you familiar with the IBIS note taking or the IBIS conversation mechanisms? There was an idea for how to facilitate this type of gathering of information. There was a book written by Jeff Conkle, which was called Dialogue Mapping. Not too many people are familiar with it, but it is a great. And they wrote some software that would make that.
Yeah, I don't want to have software in here. Also, that is definitely something.
Well, you're using software right now. I'm talking about the software you're using to create this board.
Yeah, I create a mirror board, but what I don't like, and that is a personal opinion. Yeah, I need for the whole domain stories, there is even a software I can show you.
Oh no, that's okay. I was just kind of making it clear that if you have to read.
Woody, I only want to explain. It's called Aegon.io or Egon.io, and you can use here the online version and can put those nice thingies as domain story inside of that Egon.io, and it produces you then an SVG you can use further. Yeah, it's a little bit more that you hold the whole syntax of the action and here's the action and the role and the work item. For me, it's already a little bit too strict.
Yeah? Oh yeah. I didn't mean to imply that you should do that. I was just kind of stating you were mentioning now you have to renumber everything. A good tool would just allow you to modify.
Yeah, but the renumbering, I think, I'm fine that not to take the renumber thing. Also, it really depends on the workshop and the workshop attendees. Yeah, if I use that 5A, 5B, 5C version, or if I do in renumbering, that sometimes I do the renumbering. It little bit depends on the attendees in the workshop, how strict they are, and how I can explain myself as moderator. When I have a good co-moderator, then usually the co-moderator is doing the renumbering. Then I don't need to take care of it to do.
Yeah, you got human software. Yeah.
The really important thing is, as you do, you could correct me when I put things not in the manner as you meant it, and that is the part which the collaborative modeling comes in, that we really do things together. Yeah,
absolutely.
And as a moderator, I'm not right. You, as a business expert, are right. And when you said it's called that way or that way, then we are both together.
Absolutely.
But I want to come to an end with our nice story. Now we have here a really nice story, to be honest. Usually one said that a story should be not longer than 15, 16 sentences because you can't follow it anymore and your business expert is dead after telling. And you see we have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 sentences. Also it's a really nice story. I put in workshops sometimes longer stories, but usually then I lose the attendees after half an hour or so. It makes no sense. Yeah, also that is a nice size of an domain story. So and
yes, please go ahead.
And here even Fabrizio have taken here the notes. We have with the bumblebee, the giraffe and the butterfly, and we have the note taker, and as Woody explains, the note taker contributes to the closing sessions. Usually all sessions are recapped in a short manner, so that we have some kind of a recap of the whole day in the closing session.
Yes, or they
So,
could just merely be posted on the wall, or they can be posted online. These are different ways that note taking can be used. Yeah.
So, and when we said we are ready with our session, I hope the attendees of that session could follow us and what we are doing it, and are excited about domain story as I am. I really love it. It's a great thing to do. But what is even greater is, and when you are with business people, as with real business people who don't have any sense of software, you can put it into in prototype, and that is what I want to show you as well. That
one
now,
thing before, maybe, Annegret, I would just do one last thing right here. It's just Woody, do you agree? Is this now what we wanted to do? Annegret, you did it before, right? But really just getting also that commitment at the end of the workshop before finishing to really just say, yes, this is what we want, that we have a little bit of a commitment, that all business stakeholders and also ITF involved here in the workshop really agree on that step here. And
so
that
I would
we'll
say personally, my approach is slightly different. I believe that handoffs are a troubling thing, and usually the results of a meeting is supposed to be complete and correct. I wouldn't go along with that here. So what I would say is, for the state that we're in right now, this is a great start. So this is something we would be revisiting, and this we would use to steer us towards what we actually need. And any one part of this we could start on. If we were needing to architect something, we could start with an architecture for this, and then if we wanted to start actually, creating the software or finding the right software, we could start with this. This is a beginning. Yeah.
That is a quite important disclaimer. Woody, thank you for it, because when you are sitting with business people and you are sitting with them in the first time in those workshops, that you must be clear that it's not the end of an requirements engineering process as a start point of the requirements engineering and the architecture process.
I feel compelled to interject something else. That I believe that the business people are part of the team, and it's not that we should have a meeting with them and then go do our work. They're working with us all the time.
But I agree with Fabrizio and so far that when there might be in the room contradictions between the business people, especially when you are in high political environments, then it might be that certain business experts you have in the room are fighting each other. I experienced that a couple of years ago, and it's really horrible, to be honest, when you moderate those workshops. What you can do, and what I do, that even those contradiction you make explicit on the board. So then that my answer for everything is usually such a white sticky note, and then expert A would have an alternative flow. Yeah, and then sometimes I even model those alternate flows so, and that is expert A and that is expert B. So I have it explicit on the board, and probably we need to implement both flows, which is quite expensive, or it might be that it comes out later when we have more experience and more knowledge about what we want to do, that one flow is slightly adapted so that both flows can come together.
Totally agreeing. We will not solve all business problems, but like sometimes there are just like naming, right? Who wants to name differently, and we go, hey, let's name it like that. That we agree things like this in a workshop, and don't hopefully commit after that. But I totally agree. We will not finish every software in one workshop.
I want to interject something here. I believe what we're saying is we're not here to get agreement. We're here to get an understanding. There's a
Exactly.
big difference there. The agreement itself may never come, but the understanding of what each of us is talking about, if I never understand the words you're using and you never understand the words I'm using, then we'll never come to an agreement. Understanding comes first, and this is the big first step of the understanding. The political parts of this, we're not there to solve that problem. That's the problem of humanity. That problem's been there since the beginning of time, probably. We're not going to solve for that, but I do believe I'll leave it. My last observation is I've been going through my old notes going back 25 years, and I read Anthony Beevor's book on the Battle of Stalingrad, or the Siege of Stalingrad. And what I noticed throughout it was the extremely bad management techniques and so on that were going on both sides of that. And so I actually I wrote and proposed a talk that I used to give that I called "Everything I Know About Managing Software I Learned at the Siege of Stalingrad." And so all of the political stuff, all of the everybody's pushing their own agenda and all of these things. Yeah, we can't solve for that. What we're trying to do is help people understand what's going on here and maybe come to alignment on what we need to do.
Because we use here a completely different language, because we use a visual language instead of a natural language, or spoken language, we really can detect those differences and can agree on usually we can agree on a common language, on an ubiquitous language between IT people and business people. And that is really what makes those collaborative modeling sessions so extremely valuable. But I want to show something. I'm a little bit nervous now because
before you jump into showing a completely new thing, because that's
no, but it take a while. We can then discuss,
That's fine, but because this thing will also take a while. So, Fabrizio, to you then.
So
before we move on,
we will give today away one copy of our book, Annegret and Mai's book, Crafting Great APIs with Domain-Driven Design. And we have just a really short question that will recapture if you were already here at the beginning. When should we use a visual glossary and why? First answer, it's fine. We'll get a digital copy of the book. And that's already it.
All right, so that's the running question. When should we use a visual glossary and why? Please post answers in LinkedIn comments or in YouTube comments, and we'll see them in the studio. So now, Annegret, back to you then, to showing that awesome thing that you're nervous about. Should I go back to screen sharing?
Excited. What I want to show why things are so extremely valuable, because you already can create out of it a certain prototype, in the sense of what is nowadays called spec-driven development. Even so, I didn't understand, because even in the past I did spec-driven development, but doesn't matter. Let us try. As we want to have from Claude. I have here Claude. So create a clickable prototype out of a provided domain story. So, and I just screenshotted it here. And you see it's not prepared. Yeah, I really put into here what Rudy was telling us for the process. and visual glossary for the domain language. For formatting, use the provided screenshot. And I already mentioned that I'm a really fan of the Como Camp, which will take part in beginning of May in Vienna. So I put here a screenshot of Como Camp, so that the formatting can be based on the colors and fonts of the according Como Camp page. So let us try. And now it take a while because I don't want that we look so much time and don't talk with each other looking at Claude. Therefore, we can discuss certain things further and probably certain questions which are in the chat. Carol, I need your help because I don't know what is in the chat or if there's something in the chat or something like that.
Well, we've been discussing topics ongoing, so that's already good.
Okay.
But I think we already have one good answer. As soon as you have discussed about semantic of terms, about terms, a picture says more than 1,000 words. I think that's already really good. It's mainly the relation, right, between the terms. So it's a little bit still in text form, but I like it really much. There was another one saying it's a poor man's event storming. I would a little bit disagree there, right? Because event storming is about which business events happen and in which order also, because the storming also helps then afterwards getting them into an order and also to see an exception. And you will not describe the events there or put them into relation, just into a timely order and also in an exception process. So I would go with explore domains.
As the event storming are usually, as we said it in the very beginning, that we put the event storming after the domain storytelling. The domain storytelling is really business requirement gathering, and an event storming goes further into the architecture of the whole thing. And out of the event storming in the end comes some kind of a context map which really shows your business or business-driven architecture, also with all the microservices, with all the things and the data which flow between the bounded contexts and so far. And so far, it's a poor event storming. I really disagree with that because that are two methods which really can reflect on each other and which really are supporting each other, my point of view.
Totally agree, right? But normally you do first a visual glossary, then you get the terms right, you define them by relation, and afterwards you can use them in the event storming.
Exactly. And so it's easier just to use those things inside of the event storming because you need to discuss a lot of things in the event storming. And here comes our prototype. Let us look how it looks like.
Just as a comment to the answer before prototyping, also the aspect, the abstraction is a little bit different because the visual glossary is more of a structural aspect, And then the event storming is more of a behavioral aspect that we're capturing. So they actually very much relate to different types of UML diagrams, because in the UML we classify diagrams as structural and behavioral. My favorite being the sequence diagram behavioral wise, because I use it all the time as an integration architect. And then structural, that's something I look at when describing databases, the structure of data, the relationships in data models. And just looking at the visual glossary, it doesn't really differ that much from a diagram describing a specific data model and the relationships between entities. It's just a higher level of abstraction from that.
So, and here it's a clickable prototype. Here we have our process, yeah, and we can look in the progress. It's not like I imagined. Also, I imagined here that we really have an flow, a clickable prototype. Yeah, sometimes I'm not understood correctly by my most loved God. I have here the domain story, but I have done here the visual glossary, where all the things are explained.
I think, Annegret, with your screenshot of the Como camp, he got a little bit.
Yeah, he got in different expression. Also,
So
when you want, I can.
Over
Yeah.
if you want. I also a little bit before prompted the same, but without Como camp. I don't know. Are you?
Yeah, we can try.
Let me switch to your screen then.
So I
There we
didn't went for a title or so, but really just say, hey, here's the domain story and the visual glossary. And then I was so early. So first I said, hey, we don't have speakers, because he also had separate speakers and attendees. And then this was even before we had room changed to location. So there I need to fix that up. But now we have something. He knows a little bit of my context. So it's now a cloud native unconference. We have participant session, live stream, and the location. And we see currently what's live, who's organizing it, and the facilitators. And here then we have the marketplace, where we can propose our nice session, Talk, and we can propose them. We see them and we see it's not scheduled, not enough interests, right? But the others are great. They are all proposed. With them, agenda was built, and we see our session in parallel, and the duck closing is here as well. And then, yeah, we have a session, and we have the people. Now, there before was the error from him that he said some are really speakers and by role. That now changed. Now we just have the facilitators and the proposers.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have here also a site showing Woody, as you told, the important principles. And I think funny, the law of 2 feet that he came up.
Also that was in the end, that was I expected. Yeah, I think with the screenshot of RoboCam,
You confused.
I confused my Claude a little bit. Yeah.
So something I've said for years is that the end results that we get are never going to be what we had asked for. That understanding never translates. So this has to be iterative regardless. And I think this is great that we're showing this should be and could be an iterative process. But this is, of course, why we need to work closely together all the time, not just once a week and things like that, which is what we normally see. That slows us down. Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, those prototypes in the end of such a collaborative modeling sessions and so far really great, because you can check if we have thought of everything or have we forgotten certain things, etc. And so far it's really great. And with these days, with the possibilities of those AI to create a prototype quite fast, is really great. And because there is no human no human work in it. So I really can do what I should always do with a prototype. I can throw it away.
Yeah, because if we're
Absolutely.
prototyping and we're investing into it, then we run in all sorts of biases
Yeah,
that were very common to all humans,
yeah,
and
and
then
it's
it
even
becomes problematic.
sometimes when you throw away software which were built by a developer, it's some kind of an offense. Also, we need to be careful even, yeah, with those things. And therefore, I like when it's done by the machines, and I don't care about code when I throw that away.
Yeah, I don't totally agree on that argumentation, because also with our diagrams, sometimes we just need to throw them away and start from scratch,
That's right. That's
and I
right.
would not start generating them.
So
But
getting good at
diagrams are cheaper.
yeah, getting
That's
getting
true.
good at removing things and getting good at starting over is something to practice. Yeah.
Also for
This is
developers, right?
yeah,
Refactor, delete code, not just adding new features, also
right.
on that side.
Yeah. Also, but for me, it's really that when I talk to people and I have now a representation, yeah, for the things we were talking about with the domain story and the visual glossary, I definitely have something which were translated for natural language in some kind of visual, and then I translate that visual in some kind of code. Yeah, and then I can look at the code and see what I have forgotten, and that I really like in the whole method and in the whole methodology of in domain storytelling and the visual glossary.
Fantastic.
And definitely Claude helps here with that visualization. We've been talking recently at work about implicit architecture, which is something that is very common, unfortunately, in our industry. We just create by building instead of designing, instead of putting thought to it, or a process like domain storytelling to do proper discovery of the problem domain. And then we run into, for example, a loss aversion bias. So we fear losing something, and then or the sunken cost fallacy, which is then, oh, we already invested so much in this prototype.
Exactly, that's the point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we really have to be careful when using AI. As I wanted to make my statements a little bit disclaiming, because we need to think about energy consumption of the whole things. We need to think
Yeah.
about how they were trained in particular working conditions, etc. Yeah, also, I mean, it's not all gold. Yeah, definitely
No.
not. But I think especially for that purpose, it's a good investment. Yeah, and I put those different minds from IT specialists, from business experts, from QA guys, from UX guys, etc. I bring them together and can speak then afterwards in one language, and for me that's really great.
We actually have a quite an interesting question further digging into domain storytelling. Uh, um, Unfortunately, yeah, the privacy settings of LinkedIn do not enable to show the name. Sorry. So we have a LinkedIn user on screen, but a senior software engineer is asking, can we capture specific things like this? So constraint or domain validation, can we capture this? And how would we capture this using domain storytelling?
Also what I capture in the end is that for the certain workshop, I do a PDF so that it's not changeable afterwards, so that I have an good documentation of that particular workshop. And for the AI, uh, you can, meanwhile, usually with those things, I don't have an overdraft. Usually, it's not so much. and you can then store what is provided as code inside your local in your local drive, and put it in the same manner as a copy from the mirror board. You can put it in as some kind of documentation at the same place. I
Right,
hope
but
I understood the question correctly.
second part definitely, but the first part was about constraints and validations, and the example of the overdraft was a specific, I think the specific of a financial domain.
You can validate to a certain amount, not everything, definitely not. Also, I mean, as Woody pointed out in the very beginning, we need to talk to each other constantly. Yeah. And those models and even the prototypes are helpful, but are not substitution for talking to each other.
I'm now just thinking about the question. Was it about really the meta level on how you explained now, Annegret, or was it how we really do that in domain storytelling? So
I
how we
think that was the
capture that
second one.
problem. I think it is like that, right? And I would dare say, as Woody told, normally these constraints are just a side note, either really as posted on the side, or most of the time we then go afterwards, as we show in the beginning, into something like event storming, and there we can really show the policies and the conditions, right? And then we go in that more a little bit technical level where we can, I think, capture that. And I would not put too many of these conditions into the domain story, as it will just overwhelm it.
Exactly. Also and what I think what is quite important to say is that the domain storytelling is about the happy path. Yeah. And we don't model exceptions and error passes, because otherwise no one will understand it anymore. And as I said in the very beginning, domain storytelling is about understanding.
Understanding the happy case, yeah, totally. And
Yeah.
sometimes if it's really important to have also a not happy case, I will also normally start then with a second domain story, so really a
Exactly.
fresh one.
Exactly.
If they say, hey, it's really important to look at that not happy case, then
Yeah.
like model it like a happy case.
Yeah, and from the policies point of view, that definitely I would model quite later when I know which bounded context are there, and then to model the policies inside of one bounded context. And here we are on a really high level thingy.
Right, and then again, the policies and error handling and exception handling is basically also behavioral, right? So while we're describing more of a
Yeah, the
flow,
domain story
happy
is
path,
behavior. As of domain
yeah.
storytelling is behavioral. Yeah,
Well, true, yes.
you have
But
the domain story as behavioral modeling, and you have the visual glossary as a static modeling. And usually you always need to have both. Also it's like in our most love old UML, where I always have a class diagram with a sequence diagram, or an use case diagram together with an activity diagram. Yeah. They are all doing that they support each other and are not substitutes for each other.
yeah, they're complementary most of the times.
Yeah,
You require both.
that was the word I was searching for.
Yeah. Yeah, I always struggle when, at least in my work, when people try to represent behavior using static diagrams as block diagrams.
Yes, yeah.
I'm like, how are we supposed to talk about interactions between systems if you're representing this as a map overview of lines and boxes that these boxes talk to each other with using one line? How many interactions are there?
Yes. Then you have several
Different
lines with
diagrams,
this
right?
number.
Well, we're clearly talking about things that are massively complex. And Carol, I
Usually.
think we're getting close to wrapping up, and I want to make this point. Many years ago, what I observed was that most people that are architecting software never have enough experience with it to do very well with it. We used to joke that if you can architect a system and then code it and maintain it for 7 years personally, then I'll start considering maybe you are an architect if you haven't gone completely crazy by the end of that experience. Most people that I've worked with where they're architecting things, they're not feeling the result of their relatively poor decisions that were made before we had enough information or understanding to make those decisions. Most architectural decisions in those days would have been made. We would say, well, we need to be careful to make these decisions because these are the things we can't change later. Well, I think that's a fundamental problem right there, is that we're designing systems we can't change later. And so it's just a warning. We have to be very careful that this malleability or ability to change things as we go includes the architecture. So all of this forework that we're doing, this shouldn't be considered forework. The work that we did today should feed into the work we're doing tomorrow. And what we learn when we do that work tomorrow should feed back into the planning. That feedback has to be continuous, and we will move forward, I believe, to a better result. It's like from one of Douglas Adams' books where he said, I may not have gotten to where I wanted to go, but I got to where I needed to be.
Yeah.
So this is sort of the way that I think of it. It's not a matter of how well did we plan. It's a matter of how well can we steer.
Yeah.
Two different ideas, two very different ideas. And, you know, I could go on and on with this. There's so many famous quotes, but I would leave it with this. You know, Daniel Kahneman pretty much makes the point, you know, who wrote Thinking Fast and Slow and the Noise book and so on, that we pretty much are always making really bad decisions. So that if we don't understand that, we're in trouble.
Yeah, and by the way, with the models I had in workshop a couple of years ago, one model is not enough.
There you go. There you go. That's exactly right. You're getting one finite view, and we need many finite views.
Yeah.
Oh, did I say something wrong? I probably did. Yeah,
No,
sorry about that.
But the statement will stay.
So here's the beauty of this, is that my opinions are just that. They're just my opinions. I would be very cautious to say anything negative about a specific person. I was just talking about all architects. So,
and here are at least 4.
Yes.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
So maybe more.
I mean, in the comments, we definitely have a few. So, at least 4, definitely. So, yeah. Now I have brain fog. It's this hour where I start to get foggy.
Well, that's because you're using AI. That's what somebody put a message in here.
No, because I have ADHD.
Those combined, those things are combined. Yes.
But I always, in terms of models and modeling and in being iterative and having that feedback, I always love what Mark Richards and Neil Ford say about building software and designing software, designing architecture, is that we're not aiming for the best solution, because that's overreaching. That's going to be a problem. That's going to be over-engineering. We're aiming for the least worst solution. And that exactly ties in specifically to what you said, Woody. It's not about preparation. It's about steering. Yeah. If we are able to look forward and predict a little and react to what's coming ahead, then we're steering. If we try to predict what's going to happen in 5 years, we're trying to do preparation, and that's going to fail spectacularly most of the time. Yeah, unless so the thing is very predictable, but that's rarely the case.
The thing is about at what level are we planning? So I like to use the example of playing chess. Chess has 8 pieces or whatever, a very finite little playground. It's really well defined, but you can't plan a chess game beyond your first couple moves. So you can say, well, on move 13, I'm going to do this. Well, you don't get to say that, right? It's going to depend on the context the moment you get there. So we're in a world with what we're doing that is infinitely more complex than a straightforward game of chess, which I've recently looked this up. In tournament play at the higher levels, it's almost never has, except for a very short number of moves, it's almost never that a game has been played identical to another game. And that's thousands or millions of games. Yeah, the options are too wide, and where we're at right now in what we're doing, it's expanding. So we've got a lot to be thinking about. But this was wonderful. Thank you so much for including me here today. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Woody.
I totally agree. Yeah, really nice. Thanks, Carol, for organizing this. It was really nice.
It was a really great session, Carol. Yeah, thank you very much for it.
You're welcome. So we're coming to the end of the session. So normally at this point, I'm advertising for the next live stream, but so happens to be that the next one is yet to be scheduled, and it's going to be exactly tomorrow because I have a meeting with the next speaker tomorrow to outline specifically topic description and what we're going to be doing. And that's going to be about in 2 weeks at the end of March. So no screen for the next session. So just a little bit of shameless advertisement being, well, if you're new here, you want to check out the upcoming events, you can go to bridgingthegap.eu.com. Just look it up. There's a tab there. Of course, you can, shameless advertisement here, where me and Philip are running a course at the Academy about designing interoperability at the scale of an ecosystem using domain-driven design. So you can scan the middle QR code to learn more about that. And of course, if you're watching on YouTube or want to get notified about live streams from YouTube, then please use the QR code to the right, which will subscribe you to Bridging the Gap at YouTube. So that said, thank you all for participating. That was an amazing collaborative modeling session. I think we'll probably do another one extending further into next tools, perhaps soon, maybe a little bit later. We'll chat about that another day. And for all of you still with us, and I see that's quite a nice number on LinkedIn and YouTube. Thank you for watching, and tune in and see you next time.